I have been Grand Beastwarden of the Ostrelka royal mews for 34 years. I have raised 9 broods of sky drakes from the shell, walked 2 of them into battle beneath 2 different queens, and sat the death vigil of more bonded pairs than I will name here, because the naming still costs me. I tell you the length of my service not to boast, but so you understand the weight of the thing I am about, man who believed there was much left for me to learn about a drake. I am now. Ashfell went down on the last night of the Accord feast. He was the bonded drake of the young heir Talwyn, who was 10 years old that season, a solemn, watchful child who loved that animal past all sense and slept in nights than in his own chambers. You must understand what the bond is, or none of what follows will land. Among my people, a drake and its rider are sole pat the hatching. When one begins to fail, that in their own body. So when Ashfell folded his great legs and would not rise, and began head against the stone, the boy in the gallery above cried out and clutched his own belly and went grey, and both of them, the beast below and the child above, started slowly to die in the same hour. The queen was brought. The feast stopped. I will not dress up what we tried. I called FH. The wardens of this house have cast over failing drakes for 200 years, and they told Ming but could not tell me why. My 3 under-wardens sang the settling-chants in the that have quieted 1,000 frightened animals. I brought out the whole shelf of theme, each the work of a century of Ostrelka craft, and we got what we could past the beast's teeth. Nothing turned him. Ashfell's groaning went from loud to quiet, which anyone who has kept animals know above us the boy's breathing thin to match. By the 3rd hour I had spent everything the craft allows, and I stood over that drake with empty hands. The queen came and stood at my shoulder. She did not speak. She looked at the failing beast, and then at her failing son in the arms of his nurse, and then at me, and I had nothing to give her that was not, in plain words, the loss of them both before dawn. I said yes because the alternative was to stand there and watch a child and his drake die together, and I would not buy the dignity of our craft at that price. They brought him up from the guest berths, still pulling his coat on. He came in his working clothes, a plain oilcloth coat gone dark at the cuffs, no rank, no housemark, nothing. He carried a scuffed leather satchel over one shoulder. Not a warden's blessed chest with its bone seals. A satchel, the kind you'd carry a lunch and a spare pair of gloves in. The flap was cracked with age. He'd mended the strap himself with a rivet that didn't match. He crossed to Ashfell and looked at him for perhaps 4 seconds. The way the beast lay. The set of the great belly. The way the legs were drawn. Then he looked at me. Has he passed anything today? Dung, wind, anything at all? He said. I told him no. That the beast had been Britad gone down after the evening one, and had brought nothing up and let nothing out since. Holt nodded, and he knelt, and he put the flat of his ear and then the flat of his hand against the drake's side, low and forward, and he stayed there a moment, and then he moved his hand a span and stayed again, listening to something inside the animal that none of our bones or chance had thought to ask about. His guts turned, he said, twisted on itself and filling with gas. It's not his soul going out, it's his belly killing him, and it's killing him fast because he's big. Nothing you feed him is getting past the twist. He said it the way a farmer tells you a ewe is going to lamb wrong. Not performing. Not gentling us. Just the plain shape of the thing. Can it be undone? The queen said. Sometimes. If I can get the pressure off, and if the twist will roll back with it. He was already opening the satchel. What he took out of it offended me bength of soft tubing. A blunt trocar, a plain hollow spike no fancier than a harness awl. A jar of grease. He worked along the drake's flank, pressing, counting under his breath, marking a spot with his thuet made 2 of my underwardens turn away. Andy vented the beast's belly, and the room Philel, who had been sinking, drew one enormous shuddering breath. Then Holt set his shoulder against the animal and told us where to push, all of us, wardens and guards together, and we rolled that great body the way he said, slow and then all at once, and something deep inside the drake shifted with a sound I felt in my own teeth. The change did not come at once. It came the way a fever breaks, gradually and then past all doubt. The groaning stopped. The legs unlocked. Ashfell got his huarters, and stood swaying, and in the gallery. Mews was silent. I had 30 people in that hall, wardens and court and guards, and not one of them moved. They were looking at the drake, standing and breathing, and at the boy above, breathing with him. And then at Marek Holt, buckling a cracked satchel with the mild attention of a man who has finished with a sick animal and is thinking he'd like to sit down. The queen came to him. She stood a moment with no words, which I had not seen from her in the 11 years I have served her mews. Then she offered him the warden's torque. It is the highest honor this house gives. The gold of it alone is worth more than the hauler that had carried the man to us. Holt looked at it. And I give you his exact words, because I set them in the mews book that same night while they were still sharp. That's a kind thing, and it's too much. Put it on one of your own. I unstuck a gut, that's all. Any stockman would've. He smiled saying it. Not a smile that ducked the thing, and not an embarrassed one. The smile of a man who says what is true and knows it wants nothing added. Then he asked whether he might look the drake over in the morning before his ship cast off, and the queen said yes, and he thanked her, shouldered the old satchel, and walked out of the mews. I stood in the great doorway and watched him age. A stocky man in a dark coat, a scuffed bag on one shoulder, unhurried, already somewhere else in his head. I sent a runner after him. Not for the queen, a procedure, or the name of the tool. Those I could learn. I needed to know what he had seen in those first 4 seconds, when 200 years of Ostrelka craft had seen a soul going out and he had seen a belly. The runner caught him at the passage's end and put my question to him. Holt stopped. The runner said he looked at nothing in particular on the wall a moment, and then said, "The way he was lying. An animal whose spirit's failing goes still and small. An animal in gut pain keeps trying to get away from its own middle. It rolls, it kicks at its belly. It can't get comfortable no matter how leaving. That's an animal telling you exactly where it hurts. Everything after that is just checking." And he told the runner to tell me to go and rest, that I had done nothing wrong, that some troubles just want a different pair of hands. The runner brought me those words, and I stewage outside the mews, and I turned them over. And over. In the morning Holt came back and spent half an hour with the beast and the boy both. Talwyn was up by then, pale. Still but fierce with questions, the way a chast and the wonder rushes in behind it. Holt answered every one. He showed the boy how to lay a hand on the flank and feel the good rumble of a gut doing its work again, and told him that was the sound to listen for all his life, that a warden who could hear that never needed bones or chants at all. He did not perform for the court in the doorway. He only talked to the child and the drake. Holt looked at him a moment. "Don't know, lad," he said. "But he'll be here, and you'll be here, and that's the main thing." He laid his hand once on the boy's head, and once on the drake's warm flank, the way you touch a thing when you mean it, and he walked out. I have kept the mews book for 34 years. I set this entry down the same night, while the mews torches still burned. His name was Marek Holt. He carried a cracked satchel and a blunt, all in 40 years of listening to what animals were trying to say. He brought a royal drake and the heir bound to it back from the edge before the second watch bell rang, refused the highest honor this house can give, and asked in return only whether he might look in on the beast in the morning. I do not know what the humans call a man like our own tongue, warden's word and courtier sword and the old words besides, and we have none for him. I think we will have to make one.